Again, the X100V. But this time, have you seen it has some crazy video capabilities? So we were wondering, can you make film with it? Can you make video? Can you make a narrative short film? Well, we tried. Let's see how it went. So I've been a very enthusiastic user of the X100V. I like it a lot. I use it for still photography. I actually take it everywhere. I take photos of my friends, portraits. I take it to my travelings. I took it to Japan, I took it to Europe. I've been taking photos here in Mexico, everywhere on the streets. So I'm a very eager and very enthusiastic fan of this camera. I also like a lot cinematography. We had this project, a small short film, and I was wondering, can I make a short film with this camera? Because of course this is not a video camera. This isn't even designed for video. However, it has a lot of video specs that are attractive. It has 4K full DCI, it has a 10-bit output, you can use the film emulations inside. So I was wondering, can I get the same look I have on the stills and actually make a short film with this camera? So we tried it, and I want to share with you the cons and pros of this camera and how the experience went, because it was a very interesting discovery. So I will tell you how the short film went. You can actually see the short film at the end. I'm gonna put the link. So let's talk about the pros of this camera. Like, what are the advantages if you're gonna shoot a short film? Because of course this is not a camera for a short film, but maybe it can do it. So the first thing I believe is the look. If you like this camera's look, you like the film emulations that it has, so you can still use those film emulations on your video footage. Also, if you don't use the film emulations, you can use the F-log, the logarithmic profile. You can record externally with an external recorder at 10-bit, and you can record internally at 8-bit. It also has a great resolution, 4K, and not only Ultra HD, it has DCI HD, which is a little wider, a little more cinematic. So that's a lot of advantages. You can kinda keep the look of the stills to your short film. You can still use like all the mechanic controls and the internal ND. You can take advantage of the size. It's very small. You can place it on a gimbal. In the short film that we made, most of it was shot on a tripod or on a gimbal. And I like the experience, I like the look, everything was looking great. At some point, we were here in the grading room checking out the footage, and we couldn't really see a lot of difference between the 8-bit and the 10-bit. So we decided to just go with the gimbal and record internally, because it was a little more efficient, and it's a little difficult to have the gimbal and the recorder. So we ended up using only internal video. If you use a filter, like I have a diffusion filter, I have a glimmer glass, you can still use all of your filters and the internal filters, the screen, everything. I mean, like, it's the same camera, but in video. You cannot use all the elements of the recipes, but you still get the emulations, and you still get a lot of the look from the stills into your video footage. So we also made some discoveries of things that weren't actually a disadvantage, but weren't really an advantage. So I want to talk about some middle ground stuff, like the lenses. If you know this camera, you know you cannot change the lens, so you are stuck with a 35mm equivalent, which is like a very, very nice lens, but still, if you make cinematography, you want to change your lenses at least a little bit. So we use these ones. I have the teleconverter and the wide lens converter. This one can change your lens to a 50mm, and this one can change your lens to a 28mm. So, I mean, it's not a lot of options, but you kind of have like a small kit, like a small lens kit. So I believe it's enough to try to make a narrative film. Maybe not any film, but for this one it was good enough. And another feature that wasn't great, but wasn't really a problem, was the focus. At first I was trying manual focus, like trying to make it old school and trying to focus with a ring, but I could never hit the focus right. I don't know if this is very sensitive, or I'm a terrible focus puller or whatever, but I couldn't make it with a ring. So I started using automatic focus, and the autofocus was good. Not excellent, it's not a Sony, it's not like the cameras that have this very intelligent focus, but it gets the job done. You can make it track faces, it's smooth, you can kinda tweak the speed. Sometimes you would see the camera hunting, some shots wouldn't be good takes because of the focus hunting, so I mean, it's not, you wouldn't take this to a professional level, but if you're making a short film where you can repeat the takes, it will eventually get it done. So the focus was so-so. So let's talk about the cons and the deal breakers. If you don't have the lens converters, maybe you are very limited with your storytelling, because having only one lens and one angle for everything you make may be like a lot of limits. So this is not the camera for every project. And still, if you have the lens converters, maybe you still are very limited to 3 different optics. So I believe that's a big limitant, but if that's enough for your short film, you can try. Another problem is the shaky footage, because since this is a very compact portable camera, it doesn't have any stabilized sensor, or the lens isn't stabilized, the sensor isn't stabilized. So if you are shooting handheld, you will have a shaky video most of the time, which is not right for every project. So if you have the chance to shoot with a gimbal or a tripod, maybe that's a better way to put in use this camera. And the biggest deal breaker is the heat. That's a very sad story, but we were shooting, everything was going amazing. I was very surprised with the footage, I was liking the image a lot. Halfway through the night, it was heating, and the camera hits and turns off. And once it gets hot, you cannot turn it on again, and it will continue to give you warnings and power down and power down. So that's a very, very big inconvenience. That's like a deal breaker for most of the projects, I believe. I mean, you can, maybe if you have many of these cameras, you can make it, but if you only have this one, it's a very big problem for your camera to be heating. This is not a very hot part of Mexico. We were shooting at night. We were putting fans on the camera, but as you can see, this has no ventilation at all. So yeah, I believe that's like the biggest issue with the camera while shooting 4K. The manufacturers know it, because they put a recording limit in this camera for, if you're shooting 4K, you can only go for a 10-minute take. That's the longest you can shoot. If you are recording with an external recorder, you may have drop frames. So that's like a big problem for cinematographers. So yeah, I mean, you could expect a small camera like this to have some problems, but that was the biggest problem we had with the X100V shooting video. So final thoughts. Can you make a short film? Yes, absolutely, yes you can, but it has to be the right project for this camera. Let's be real, there's always a better tool than this one, surely. But still, if you only have this camera and really want to make a short film, you can. And we did it with this camera. The short film exists, we finished it, I like the image a lot. So, I mean, it's possible, but you have to work around all the disadvantages, like the lens limitants, like the heating. But if you find the right short, the right project, you can perfectly make a short film, maybe even a feature film, I don't know, but you need the correct project. And with the correct project, I mean the language. If you really don't need shaky footage, you need to use a tripod or use a gimbal, or if you really love shaky footage, you will get the shaky footage. Also, if you need a lot of optics, this is not the camera. If you have the teleconverters, maybe you have 3 different optics. But yeah, I mean, you can make a short film of good quality, you can have the 10 bits, you can make post-production, you can shoot in F-Log, you can shoot with the emulations. So yeah, I mean, if you have the time, if you have the patience, if you can wait for the camera to cool down, you can perfectly make a short film or even a bigger project. So yeah, please watch the short film. Here's the link in the description below and you can click on it. And please consider subscribing to my channel. Thank you very much for watching. I hope this helps. And go ahead. If you're watching this video because you want to make a short film and you have no option, go ahead, but just have a fan near somewhere near your set, because you will need the fan and maybe some ice and maybe if you are in a very cold country you will have a better luck. So try it, and see you on the next video.